What is going on, guys? This is Blender Boy Tutorials man. Yes, that's my name. And welcome back to another tutorial. I know that I have not made a tutorial in such a long time, but I really don't want to give up on this channel. And my friend Saksham Boy, his links is going to be in the description, his channel's link, has told me that he wants to learn how to make a sword. So how can I turn down such a nice request? So we'll get to it. So we first need a reference image. First of all, actually no, I need to turn on screencast keys so we can actually take a look at the shortcuts that I'm pressing. This is left mouse button, middle mouse button, and right mouse button, and the things will also be described there, like left mouse button, left, right, whatever. Okay, very nice. So first of all, we need to add a reference image with shift A, image reference. Very nice. Let's go into saved pictures, and I have this 300 pixel bastard sword. It has a very nice name which I love. It's called a bastard sword. I do not know why it is called a bastard sword, but it is called a bastard sword. I love saying the word bastard if you do not know. We are going to rotate this so that the tip roughly faces the ground, which is very nice, and we're going to be starting by making the blade. Am I recording? Yes, I am. I was scared. Cube. Nice. Go into wireframe mode by hitting shift Z and then scroll this down, like hit S to scale it down. Do not go into edit mode and shift these edges there. We will need them for mirroring and this will mess up the origin. So I'm just going to move this somewhere along the middle and then scale it manually. Very nice. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Nobody really looks that close, that's why. Now the rest of the sword can be just grabbed and moved along the Z axis, down and up. Great. Now this is extremely thick and it's thick on the X axis, so we can go SX, scale it very nicely. There we go. We can see there's an equal partition on both sides. Gonna scale a little bit. Very nice. If we take a look, we need to make an edge, but the edge does not go from the middle of the blade to the sides, it goes from here. But there is a problem. If we just take this and scale it on the y-axis, you can see the entire edge is skewed and we want only this part to be curved. So doing that is actually pretty easy. Control R to add a loop cut. You can see this yellow line. If you scroll up, you add more loop cuts. If you scroll down, you add less. Click it and now you can edge slide it. I'm going to position it just where the curve starts to basically begin, and we're going to select this, scale, y-axis, boom. Very nice. Now we want the sword to be mirrored along the x-axis because I want whatever gets done on this side also be symmetrical on this side. So what are we going to do? We're going to temporarily hide this by hitting H. It shows G because I pressed two buttons. Hit H, it hides. And now into edit mode, add Control R for a loop cut, but instead of aiming here, go along a horizontally positioned edge instead of a vertical one, and boom, you slice this in half. Now I need to delete the half, so I'm going to select the rightmost vertices and delete them. Excuse me, I was not in X-ray mode, so we're going to go into X-ray mode first. X-ray mode is actually very important since it allows you to select vertices through other vertices. Great job. Now we have cut it in half successfully. We're going to go into modifiers. We are going to be adding a mirror modifier, and by default the mirror modifier is upon the x-axis. If you want, you can add it on the y-axis as well, or the z-axis. You want to create a sword which also stabs the owner in the face, which is very nice, or you can add all at once, which is very ridiculous, but we only need the x-axis. So there we go. Now we gotta create the edge. One thing is that the edge begins from the sides, like this edge. So we are going to go and we are going to be adding a loop cut and we are going to edge slide it along here. Minus 0.65 seems fine. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering how I shifted it exactly, I just typed it on my number pad and it went there. Also, if you want to learn how to switch between different selection modes, for example, I'm in vertex select mode right now. 2 is edge select mode, 3 is face select mode. If I press 3 on my number row, that is face select mode. These are on the number row, as you can see right here, not on the number pad. If I hit number pad 1, you can see it actually says that it's number pad 1, which is great. Okay, so we have put one edge there. Now for the second one, Control R, same as there. You cannot use the same technique of typing in like plus 0.65. since it technically considers the boundary between this edge and this edge as the center instead of these two. Why am I still getting Discord pings? I do not know. Hold on 1 second. Whoops, that is not the correct thing. I'm going to pause it for a second. We are back. Nothing but just a mere trifle between my friends. It happens all the goddamn time. Don't even worry about it. Okay, we have the sword. Nice. We need to collapse these edges to make it look sharp, because it looks like a sword out of Minecraft right now. Not that that's a bad thing, but we don't necessarily want it. Okay, so going to edge select mode, hitting 2, select this. If you shift select something else, you can select multiple things, which is amazing. Shift select this edge as well, leading down here, and then if you double tap G, you will basically able to do the edge slide the same way you did with the loop cut. By the way, let me show you the difference between hitting G and like X. As you can see, yes, it does that, but if I hit G twice, I can merge it this way and it dynamically adjusts to go this way as well. Let me do it extremely slowly. Look at that. That is amazing. So I want to merge it this way, I can. If I merge it this way, I can. It doesn't really make a difference, forms the same edge, but I'll merge it outwards. Actually, the volume is not changing either. I'll still merge it outwards. There we go. But we have a little bit of a problem. We have vertices on top of vertices, which is generally bad for rendering your object. As you can see right here, we have like 3 vertices on top of each other. So what are we going to do? We're going to select everything, hitting A, and then we're going to hit M and merge by distance. It basically selects a certain threshold based upon distance and merges vertices into one if they are in close enough proximity. We have a sword edge, which is very nice. Now towards the handle. If you are wondering that why is it so cubical, we will smooth that out. It is no problem whatsoever. Before actually continuing to smooth this out, I will consider making this edge a little bit fine, the point. So what I'm going to do is I want it to be a quad, but it has some tris in here as well, and that's not really good for subsurf. So I'm going to take these 2 vertices, hit X. Instead of deleting them, I'm going to dissolve them. That maintains the face. If I deleted them instead, it would have taken the face with it, which I do not want. Nice. Select these and now scale it upon the x-axis. Actually, yes, another thing I forgot to mention. If you select everything right now, and if you move it around, it has not joined yet because you have not turned on clipping. If you turn on clipping, it will connect, which is amazing. And yes, focus on here. By the way, to focus on something, hit number pad period. Now to merge this, SX, shrink it down really small, and now shrink it down extremely small, but do not merge all of these into one singular point. That does not fare well for the subsurfing that we are going to do later. So keep that as like little as possible. From distance it does look like a point, it doesn't really matter, but for subdivision surface we need Mr. Catmull and Clark to work their wonders, and they want quads, so we are going to keep them in quads. Next point is going to be the handle. Very nice. So the handle is actually pretty basic. It's like a flat surface with a bump, so we are just going to add in a cube like so. It's extremely large, so shrink it down a little bit. We're going to add in a cube. We're gonna make it a little bit down. It's basically, by the way, another thing is the problem with this photo, it's not orthographic. It's taken from a perspective, which is not good if you want to model something by eye. You need to have a natural instinct of trying to second guess where these things would have been if they were orthographic. So let's just assume that this is exactly facing us at 90 degrees head on. So yes, we are just going to model it that way. I'm going to take this part, actually I'm going to split it in between. I'm going to delete this part again, and I'm going to mirror it again, so I don't have to do the same thing twice on both sides. Mirror on the y-axis. Nice. Now stretch it like so, about here. Yes. By the way, I just noticed that this is not perfectly aligned, so there we go. This is exactly centered, I'm pretty sure. If I did a loop cut, it's lining up with the edge of the sword, which is great. Nice. So we are going to be adding one edge here. Move it again like ever so slightly. Very nice. We are going to be adding another loop cut right here, and we are going to grab these 2 vertices, move them up like so. Great. And if you want, you can move this up as well if you want to create like a jiggly sword. I'll keep it that way. This looks nice. Great. Now for the handle is pretty basic and it's not that big of a deal. It's just a cylinder. You ought to start with something that looks like your base primitive. The sword blade looked like a cube which was flattened, so I picked a cube. The handle also looked like a cube, so I picked that. This obviously looks like a cylinder, so we're going to go with that. Another thing, if you want to center your cursor exactly in the middle of something, it's extremely easy. Select, like if I want to center it exactly in the middle so I can build the handle upon it, I'm going to select these 2 points. I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected. It will jam the cursor average distance between both of these vertices, which happens to be the exact center of our sword, which is great. Add in a cylinder using Shift A. The regular amount of vertices is fine. We are doing a render. We are not doing a optimized game model. I'm going to scale it down till it just does not penetrate into this piece right here. And yes, we're going to grab the top part and we're going to bring it up. Great. As you can see, by the way, the original thickness of the sword at least goes till here, so we gotta make this thicker. But instead of making it all thicker, I'm going to make the sword thicker so everything goes in scale with that, so it does not mess up anything. Okay, the sword is very big as well right now. It's actually just like a few inches big, but this handle is also extremely big. The person who is going to hold this will compensate. Do not worry about the person's ergonomics. It will be fine. Now to create this ziggity zaggity, it's obviously not going to be as sharp when I'm going to make it. So we're going to be adding in loop cuts. I'm going to scroll up till one of these like basically aligns perfectly. I'm going to go with a 20. Very nice. So we are at 20. Now I'm going to alternate select all of these loop cuts. Just like eyeballing it. So select this, then select this, then select this, and this. We don't need to select that bottom one. It's basically in the sword hilt. Okay, now we're going to scale it. But if I scale it, oh no, it is going up. If I scale it down, oh no, it is going down. That is why we are scaling it in all axes. Now you might be wondering, okay, then I will scale it along the x-axis first, and then I'll scale along the y-axis first. That is extremely dumb way of working. Blender has a very nice system in which you can scale things very properly. I'm sorry if you're not able to see my shortcuts. I will remove this right now. It's actually brightened down. Notice that. I'm sorry, I'm dumb. Oh god, I gotta select this again. There we go. Selected this, and now hide. There we go. S, if you press Shift and press any axis that you do not want to scale the object on, it will move the object, it will scale the object on anything but that axis. So if I press Shift Z, boom, it is scaling the object. Let me just take a reference. Yes, that's about the right bulge. Yes, it will scale it on everything except the Z axis, which is amazing. I'm going to scale a little bit bigger for just some good measure. Great. I'm going to shrink this on a little bit because it is penetrating through the sword like ever so slightly. I do not like that. Actually, you know what I can do is I can be a little bit smart and maybe use my brain for once and go clipping again. I'm going to make the hand guard a little bit bigger. Yes, that's probably a sensible solution. So I'm going to shove this a little bit in so it's flush with the bottom. Great. Now for the little crystal boy atop the top, that's also very easy. Select this top part, select this face, Shift S, cursor selected, it's exactly in the center. Great. Somebody is messaging me. Wait 1 second. When you are quarantined, your sister finds way to play with her friends online, which is great. Kids are learning about technology these days. It's amazing. Okay, enough of that. We're gonna add a UV sphere. Great. We're gonna scale it down. That's the wrong perspective. That's the wrong perspective. This is the right perspective. You need to scale it down ever so slightly, just till it hits the rim. There we go. Very nice. Put it a little bit up. Actually, no. Yes, pull it a little bit up and scale it again. Great. Now we need to create this tapered look. It's going like this. It's more of an oval than a sphere. To do that, we're going to use proportional editing. Proportional editing is up here, this little circle. Shortcut is O. If you press it, every single time you grab something, oh, by the way, you might not notice notice anything. You might see like, oh my god, it's moving all at once, is because this value top here, this proportional size, is way too large. Scroll up till you see this little circle, and that is the area of effect or the fall off. This little slope right here depends upon what type of fall off we add. If this is smooth, it will be like this. If we are going to go sphere, it's gonna be a little bit sharper. If we're gonna go root, it's gonna be a little bit sharper, but towards the end only. If you're gonna go sharp, it's gonna be ridiculously sharp, and all sorts of stuff. It'll be random if you do random, which looks kind of cool in some position. If you want to make like a crystal head, that's pretty cool actually. Might do that sometime. But we are going to be selecting smooth for this, and we are just gonna tap O, bring it up ever so slightly, like this. Boom. Great. It's not really flush. I'm gonna move it a little bit down, switch that off as well. Nice. Our sword is complete. We can begin adding some of the little details. Yes, we're gonna begin by smoothing the blade. So select the blade, apply your mirror modifier. Now the mirror modifier has become part of the geometry. It's no longer non-destructive. It has been fully applied to the sword hilt, and there's no going back now. Do not be scared, it's not that big of a deal. So we're going to go into the modifier section. We're going to add a subdivision surface modifier, and we're going to bump this up to 2. Now you might be wondering, why did my sword turn into a banana? Well, the Catmull-Clark calculation algorithm for subdivision surface calculates extra geometry in a very interesting way. Let me annotate this for you. What it basically does is, if this is a slope and these are 2 vertices, it adds more geometry, but at the same time it averages out like an angle between 2 slopes. And the more geometry you add, the more angles it averages. So at some point, if you smooth it enough, it will just turn into a curve. So I hope I have explained this good enough. I'm sorry if I have not, but what is basically looking for, it is averaging from this vertex to this vertex, and that's why it's bending it. There's not a lot of geometry, there's not a lot of information for it. So we're going to give it that information by adding some extra geometry in form of, you guessed it, loop cuts. So if I add a loop cut and move it all the way up here, you can see it has tightened that piece up very nicely. And if I add another loop cut and move it all the way down here, look at that. That is stellar. That is absolutely fantastic. Amazing job. We need to maintain the side edge. It looks ridiculously dull, so we're going to add another loop cut there as well. Control R, we're going to add this loop cut right here in this teensy little bit of area, and we're going to pinch it as close as it can to the edge, but not fully. Okay, since we don't want vertices on top of vertices. The same thing we are going to do with the back. Boom, we have a sharp edge and a good looking sword. Another thing, we need this part to be solid. It does not need to be that curved. We're going to add more loop cuts again, shift it towards this part a lot, add another one, shift it towards this part a lot, here, go here, add another one and shift it closer. There we go. We have a nice little piece of geometry right here. The same actually already has happened with the back, since this is a very nice flowing topology. If you can still see some squares, it's no problem. Do not go and increase the viewport resolution under subdivision surface. If you do that, bad things will happen. Let me show you how. Down here we have a verts count. Right now it's 2,880 vertices. Give me 1 second, my father is calling. There's a lot of interruptions during this tutorial, I know. Yes, we are back in our tutorial. You might not notice what a lot you have missed. I even had my coding tutorial. If you can take a look at the clock down here, it has been quite a while since I have returned there. But yes, as I was saying, do not go and increase the viewport quality of the subdivision surface, because if you take a look down here, there is a vertex count which is on 2,880 right now. If I increase this, it goes to 7,882, and eventually if you keep increasing it, your computer will explode from overheating. and that is not what we want. Then you ask that how do we get rid of this? Well, it's a very simple solution. Tap W or right mouse button if you use left click as a selection. I don't. And go to shade smooth. Nice. Now as you can see, all the sharp edges have been smoothed down, all the actual normal edges actually, and all the sharp edges have been retained, so that's extremely nice. So the blade is complete. Now for the handle might is also actually going to be made in the same way. Actually the blade is not really flush with the hilt. I'm going to move it a little bit up. Nice. Now for the handle. Yes, so for the handle I'm going to be applying a subdivision surface as well. So we are going to apply the mirror modifier, and we are going to do subdivision surface. Nice. We can increase this to 2 as well for some additional detail, and we are going to make it a little bit flush as well by adding some loop cuts along the edges and along the tips as well. Great. We have the hilt ready as well, and it looks amazing. I love it. So the smooth shading makes it look really nice. Now for the handle is also going to be done with the same method. As you know, subdivision surface is such a popular modifier. It has a shortcut key devoted to it. Control 1, 2, 3, 4 are the respective keys to get to subdivision surface level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want. I need to set it to 4, 2, 2, 4 to 2 for now. Why am I stuttering so much? Also, these exclusions are not that severe. As you know, subdivision surface narrows down the exclusions. I mean, it makes them it averages the distance between, so we need to make them a little bit thicker. So I'm going to select these again, and I'm going to increase it till it looks fine, because this is for grip, and if our warrior does not have grip, he will stab himself in the leg with his own sword, and since this sword is so big, it might cut his leg clean off, and I do not want that. There we go. That looks pretty nice. Shaded smooth. As you can see, we've got some weird artifacts up here. Do not worry, these are ridiculously simple to solve as well. Loop cut it. Boom. Solved. Down here as well, but it's actually embedded inside the sword, so you don't really see it as much, which is fine. So the top crystal, we need to scale it a little bit big because it is not fitting with the rest of the sword scale. We are going to make it a smooth shading as well, which is great. We do not need to add actually let's add a subsurface level 1 just to smooth it out. Very nice. The sword has been completed and it looks absolutely stunning. It looks like a sword which will kill and will also look good while doing it, but it doesn't really look good till we have added the actual materials. So we are going to do that. Let's go into the shading workspace. As you can see, we are in the material preview mode. If you hit Z, you can see all the modes: wireframe, solid, and rendered. Rendered is black because we do not have any lights. We do not have any surface for it to bounce off, well, except the sword. But material preview lights your model with the inbuilt HDRI which comes with Blender. You can change those HDRIs, I believe, if you actually, let me center my camera right here. Very nice. If you go up here, no, here, there we go. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 HDRIs that it comes with. It's a night parking lot HDRI, farmland, cityscape, I guess, sunset, this, that, those. I don't know. We cannot render in the HDRI as far as I'm concerned, which is inbuilt into Blender, by the way. So we have to go to rendered mode and we have to import our own HDRI. This material preview is exactly for its name. It is only to preview the materials. So now let's first of all start with the metal. The metal is probably the easiest part. Blender comes with a set it up material. Actually, it comes with everything. If you it always comes with a setup material with the material output connected to a principled BSDF. This is an amazing node. Every single material you probably want to make will be at some point fed into this node, which is amazing. So to make it metallic, we turn the metallic up to 1. You do not compensate for any value in between. In real world, objects are either metallic or they are dielectric. There is no in between. And to control the roughness, we can see what type of roughness we want. We can turn it like glass, I mean like mirrors, or we can make it like ridiculously rough. I'm going to go with a 0.25. Also, to give itself a little bit of sparks, this is an add-on which I really suggest you download from web. It's known as PBR materials. You can find it online. uh, Actually, maybe I should not link this because I do not have an actual link for this PBR materials. So I suggest that you make the scratches yourself. Well, in this case, we are not going to be making it scratched. We are going to make it Damascus, which will look pretty cool. I know it was not in the original one, but it's an extra thing that I would like to show you. So for Damascus, we have, if you press Shift A in here, you can add a bunch of stuff: input, output, shader, texture, color, vector, and all sorts of stuff. For Damascus, we need that swirly wavy pattern. So to create that swirly wavy pattern, we are going to search up in textures a wave texture right there. Very nice. Connect the color to the color, and we can already see, actually we cannot already see, if we oh, by the way, enable the node wrangler add-on. It is so helpful. It will make your life ridiculously easy. Go into edit, preferences, add-ons, and then search in here node wrangler. It's amazing. Enable that right now. With node wrangler enabled, if you hit Control Shift and click this node, it will show you the view of the material irrespective of the shading. So it is shadeless right now. So right now the material is being applied in a very odd fashion, and this is because this sword blade has not been unwrapped. If we change this view type to UV editor, and if I press the sword, this is a very weird unwrap, and this is not how it's supposed to be. Unwrap is basically, just imagine it as a net of a shape. If you do not know what a net is, let me introduce you to it. This is a cube. If I go into edit mode, you can see its net. It is basically as if somebody placed seams, cut along those seams, and laid it flat. That is what our unwrap basically is. So to unwrap the sword, we are not going to manually place seams, since this is not a big of a deal. We are going to hit U, and instead of live unwrap, we are going to, instead of the normal unwrap, we are going to do a cube projection. The cube projection also does not seem to be faring too well. Actually, no, I know why is this happening. If you click Control T, it will show you the real behind the scenes what is going on here. By default, it is connected to a vector texture coordinates node and a mapping node. Control T, by the way, is the shortcut for revealing all of this. It is using generated coordinates. We do not want that. We want UV coordinates. Yes, there we go. So now if we go in here and if we change the scale, let's say I type it like 15, we have gotten a lot more waviness, and we've got it uniformly all around, which is amazing. It is not distorted like the Damascus texture, so we have got some scales to figure out the sort of. Actually, use the scale value right here to control this. Yes, let me just set it to 100. Now to change the distortion. This distortion value does exactly what it seems like. It changes the distortion. As you can see, we have gotten a Damascus pattern and it looks pretty sick. But I think the scale is a little bit too big. Let's change it to like something half, 50, yes. And yeah, about 50. That looks Damascus-y enough. But another thing in Damascus is that this part is exactly black and this part is exactly white. Well, metal is not really that white unless it's aluminum. So we are going to add in a color ramp. By the way, you can do this as Shift A, search. Otherwise, it's located in vector. No, it's located in converter. I'm pretty sure. Yes, converter color ramp. Add this in between. Fantastic. And now with the color ramp, we can tweak the blacks and the whites by sliding these sliders around. It's very intuitive and it's amazing. I can give it like a weird Damascus pattern. I can even change the fall off. I can make it constant to give it like a cartoonish look, like this. Look at that, it looks pretty cool. Or a B-spline to make it extremely smooth in between, which is pretty cool as well, but we are not going to do that right now. We're just going to go with linear. Let's add one little stage here as well between black and gray, and let's make it extremely dark gray around the back like this. Actually a little bit whiter like so, so that we can see the black is seeping into the metal. Let's position it at 0.5, like exactly in the middle, and let's locate the white exactly at the end, and let's change it a little bit as well. Turn this a little bit darker overall. This is the hue, saturation, and value. Value is the brightness, hue, saturation is the saturation, and hue is the hue. You know this. Let's change the value to 0.75. Great. Now our sword with Damascus looks like Damascus. If you still find the scale to be a little bit odd like I do, change it. 35 looks good enough. Nice. This sword looks so cool. Okay, let's go on to making the handle now. In the image, the handle is just a piece of metal, so that's what we are going to make. We are not going to do anything fancy with the handle right now. So new material, go into the metallic section, make it fully metallic, and turn it a little bit dark, and perhaps crank the roughness towards the 0.25 area. Yes, that's good. And for the handle is obviously made out of wood. So let's add another material. Yes, I am back again. Just ignore all these transitions. Let's just focus on our project. Okay, so the material for the handle material is going to be wood. What type of wood? Let's just take a look. Well, it's a black wood. It's a very black wood. Okay, so I have created a texture of African blackwood for a scythe that I made a while back, but I wonder that whether if I should use this, because you guys cannot get your hands on that. Well, I guess I won't. I will show you how to manipulate different color textures into colors of different colors. This is such a confusing sentence. Okay, so close this. Open up whatever directory you have your textures in. Okay, I have these right here, and all of these textures, well, most of these textures are from polygon.com. Sorry for that burp. I'm going to link them in the description as well. It's Andrew Price, Blender Guru's official website. Sign up for a free account there. There are some textures which are actually free and others are paid, but I'm pretty sure that their service is worth it if you've got the cash. I do not have the cash, nor do I seriously use textures anywhere else. But if I was, you know, like a paired VFX or like some sort of artist, I would definitely invest in that. It's well worth it. So we're going to be using this wood quartered chiffon 001. If you go on their website, this one is absolutely free. I have downloaded the 4K version. It's not needed. You can download the 2K one. I got all of these textures when I was ridiculously new to 3D, and I was like, yeah, acquire as many textures as possible and as high resolution as possible. That's a bullcrap mindset. Do not keep that. Get 2K if you're going to put this on a material, I mean on a little object like a sword. If you're going to do like a big landscape or a building, then consider getting higher resolutions. But never mind that. We have color maps, we have gloss maps, we have normal, we have another normal, and we have reflection. Ignore this. We're going to be using only these three, not this one, because this is a normal standard. I think this is a 4-bit normal map. Let me compare this actually. Details, bit depth 24, details, bit depth 48. So we're going to be using the image with higher bit depth. It usually is marked with a 16 right here. So put in the texture. It's gonna go to the base color. Already looks pretty good. Looks like wood. Looks great. Glossiness is going to go into the roughness map. There we go. But it is not going to be the correct values, as it is not interpreting it as an actual mathematical value. It's taking it as a sRBG input, as you can see. So change the color space from sRBG into non-color data. There we go. Perfect. Now we need to get the normal 48-bit depth normal. There it is. Fantastic. And we cannot connect it straight to the normal input, as it will produce disastrous results. It looks like it's flat shaded. That is not how it's supposed to be. We are going to switch over to non-color data, but it still looks wrong because we need to run it through a normal map. Boom, right there. And there we go. Normal maps basically adds grooves and micro details to your surface. I am seeing one problem right here, and that is that this wood grain is too fine. It looks like this piece might be like 15 meters tall because the wood grain is so fine. It's a very small piece. The wood grain ought to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to add a mapping node, and I'll just connect the same vector to every single piece. We're going to use UV coordinates first of all. If you hold down Alt and right click, you can do lazy selections, which is a part of Node Wrangler, by the way, which is amazing. And there we go. It's time to scale down this piece. I guess I should scale down to 1/10, so I'm going to drag on all these values. I've selected all of them. 0.1. Boom, there you go. Now the grain looks much more realistic. By the way, the color is not matching the color of the wood in the reference image. It's too light, and if you want you can go with this aesthetic, but I'm going to stay true to the reference image. We're going to add a mix RGB node. We're going to be doing some color correction for this. So mix RGB node, what it basically does, it uses a factor slider as a percentage of mixing two colors. One is going into this input and the other is going to this input, or you can select it from a color wheel. It is using this percentage to mix these two colors using a mathematical calculation algorithm known as a blending mode. There are a lot of blending modes here, so choose wisely. I'm going to probably go with multiply since it produces good results with these types of things. Well, okay, let's darken it a bit. Let's change it a little bit black. Maybe go towards like a orangish brownish side. And yes, there we go. Look at that. We got dark wood. That looks pretty sick in my opinion. And it looks like realistic wood. It legitimately looks like we have created dark wood, which is fantastic. You can also change the factor if you want to get some weird results, or whatever you want, or play with the mixing, play with the blending modes. Use mix, use darken, use color burn. I don't care. Color burn actually gives a pretty cool effect as well. But we're going to go with multiply. There we go. Our sword is getting close to the end. Now for this top piece. As in the photo, it's like a weird metallic gemstone. So I guess we're gonna kinda make it like that. So we're going to add a new material. There we go. Very nice. Let's give it full metallicness. Great. The roughness looks fine the way it is. And we need to make it a little bit crystal-y. So a very good way of doing that is go here, go into textures, Voronoi texture. Nice. It is very good. It produces these types of cells in your object. By basically it generates a cell structure on your object. We need to convert this cell structure into a normal output so we can give a weird crystal-y effect, and that will look pretty cool. So we're going to go and search up a bump node. This is a node which converts black and white imagery into normal data. As you can see right here, this is not black and white. The normal map is purple, and a bump/displacement node is black and white. So we're going to be using that. So let's connect that to the height input. Let's connect that to the normal, and let's take a look. There we go. It looks pretty crystal-y, but it also looks kind of weird. We do not need this type of Voronoi. Basically what it's doing, it's creating cells. It has boundaries which are marked as white. Basically the darker the area, the more pushed in it will be, and the wider the area, the more pushed out it will be. So let's use a little bit of color ramp magic. And actually distance, there are multiple inputs. There's color and there's position. Color looks great as it does not have any weird fall off whatsoever. So we're going to be using color for the color ramp, which is great because color ramp you can like make it darker or you can make it wider or whatever, but the number of colors, the type of colors you have put on the color ramp will decide the final color of the object. For example, the color output is colored, but it doesn't matter because when it goes to the color ramp it becomes black and white. But if I change the black to something like blue, the black areas will become blue, and the white areas, well, they will interpolate between like different values of blue, basically. If I turn it to constant, some areas will be straight up white and some areas will be straight up blue. Nice. So yes, just let's make it black, and let's take a look at the bump node. It's giving whatever. Let's just take a look. Nice. That looks pretty damn good. It looks like a cracked crystal. Cool, cool, cool. Let's actually take a look at this. Oh yeah, it removes the curves, I mean the cracks, if you do that. Basically, if you turn down the randomness, it turns it into cubes. That's not what we need. Also, another thing we can try is using this, but actually turning the white ridiculously close. If we do that, it'll produce cylinders. They look kind of cool, I guess. If you do this, it will do weird stuff. Also kind of cool, I guess, but we'll use color. We're gonna stay with one true color. Great. Let's continue on then. Okay, so we have got this cracked crystal gemstone type deal, and it's looking pretty good. We can also invert it if you want. It doesn't really make a difference that much. You can change the strength of the normal if you want. You can make it ridiculously strong, like 10 if you want. I don't really care. It's fine. It's alright. We're going to just set it to 1. Yes. Okay, there's our cracked gemstone atop our bastard sword. Now for the rendering. It depends how you want to render this. You want to render this in a dark room? I mean, sure you can, but it won't look as fancy. You want to render it in like a display showcase? Hell yes. So we are going to be making a display showcase. But another thing about that is that when we move the sword blade or any other part of the sword, the other parts do not move with it. So we gotta parent this. So I'm going to select this, and then finally select the sword blade and hit Ctrl P, parent, keep transform. And if I move the blade, everything else moves with it. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. So let's get to model the display case. I will hide this object right here right now because I want to make a display case and I need to focus on that. So it's like going to be a glass display case. I'm gonna make a cube. Let's move it above like so. Actually, what's the we can adjust the scale of the sword later according to whatever needs we have. So okay, let's move this a little bit up as well, and take this piece and extrude it down. Actually, this is a bad idea. I want it to be flush with the ground. I can just alter it this way. Take the bottom part like so, move it up. Yes, there we go. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. I don't know why I did that. Yes, move it up, and let's just create like a beveled effect. We're gonna move it a little bit down, and we are going to scale a little bit outwards, probably like 1.5, and that looks pretty big actually. Let's scale a little bit in boundaries. 1.25 seems fine. Great. Now let's give it a bevel effect. I'm going to select this edge running all across the boundary, and I'm going to bevel it. Boom. Now we have a lot of different bevel variations and options which are extremely handy, and I love them. We're going to be selecting percent in this because then I cannot go outside the boundaries, and actually that's a pretty big bevel. I will see about if I select percent or not. But we can select offset, we can select width, we can select depth, whatever you want. Let's stick with offset for now, I guess, because yeah, percent is supposed to be not going that high. Actually, I can change that. I can just put a loop cut like till here, and then bevel it then. I think yeah, that's smart. That's extremely smart. Yes, there we go. Add multiple segments to your bevel. Sure, why not? But it actually has a reason. With the new update, we have bevel profiles. If you see down here, we have custom profile. Enable that. Now I can make it like steps. Boom! It's like stairs, but way more classy. So if I add more segments, the more detailed and proper it will be. We have a pretty cool looking stairs type bevel. It looks sick on this model. It looks like a general display shelf model. There we go. Now let's scale it a little bit on the x-axis. No, that's fine. There we go. We probably got our display shelf. This looks as good as it is going to get. Actually, no. We're gonna bevel these top pieces as well. This top layer. So yeah, I'm gonna select this part. I'm gonna bevel it as well. Not in the stairs fashion. I'm just going to leave it out. This is fine. Change the percentage a little bit. I guess actually turn it to offset instead. Does it make a difference? Width makes a significant difference. Depth seems like to be the correct algorithm for this. Nice. There we go. And now just shade it smooth. Very cool. But you see I've got these weird glitching artifacts, and to remove them there's a technique called auto smooth. Basically what smooth shading is doing, it's averaging the light reflections or light hits from one face to another, but it does not know where to stop. So if we go down in the object data properties and in the normals, auto smooth, very nice. What it basically does, it tells the smooth shading that this is an angle threshold that you need to limit the shading to. So beyond this angle, anything bigger than this angle, you are not going to shade it smooth. Let me just take a sip of my water right here. My throat's going dry. There we go. Yes, so that's what it does. Great. Now to put our sword inside of it. Another one thing is that it's not hollow. If we put our sword inside of it, it would be like putting it in like straight up glass, like solid glass. So we need to do a little bit of a tricksoo. I'm going to take the bottom face of this and I'm going to extrude it up, and actually no, extrude it up till here, I think, till it's like absolutely level with the ground, and scale it bigger so it matches the width of the steps exactly. There we go. And then just like inset it like so. Insetting is done with I. It creates like a face on top, inside a face. It's like extruding but not moving at all. And yes, and now shrinking it down and then extruding it up again. Great. Let's take a look at from a different angle. This looks fine, and we're going to bevel this part as well for extra classiness, you know, of course. Great. So we have this piece here, but as you can see the floor is missing. We do not want the floor to be missing, so I'm going to alt. If you alt select an edge, it selects the entire loop, which is amazing. If you hit F, it will create a face there, so we got a solid face. Fantastic. Now for the materials. This piece I want to make it out of wood, so you're gonna make it out of wood. First of all, go into edit mode, select this entire bottom piece along with the flooring, go into materials, add one material, and then go here in the object material properties. Yes, exactly. Add one more material, add a new material in that slot, and assign this to that slot. So if you change a material here, we do not need to keep them as separate objects. We can change these whichever way we want and have them be one object. So just select something, go into a different material and hit assign, and it'll make it a new material. Great. Okay, so we need to make this bottom part wood. I'm going to be using a different kind of wood that I also got from Polygon. This is not sponsored. I'm a very tiny channel. Blender Guru would not sponsor me. So you're gonna go with wood fine dark 004 044 004, yes, 05, whatever. We're gonna add the color, we're gonna add the normal. It does not have a 48-bit normal, unfortunately, and we're gonna go with gloss. It has displacements. If you want to use that, it's fine, but I don't, so still fine. Base color into base color, boom. Glossiness into roughness. Be sure turn it into non-color data. Ridiculously important. Same with the normal non-color data, and then normal map. Connect this to this. Connect this to this. Bazooing. But again, it's not UV unwrapped correctly, which is and so we're going to Control T, you're gonna arrange it to the UV coordinates. You're gonna connect every single one of these to UV coordinates, and then select this entire part, which we already have since we did not deselect it. Cube projection. Boom. Done. Amazing. Good. Legendary. Make this top part glass. How do we do that? Not that. I mean, actually, it's very easy, but it's a little bit convoluted in EV. I don't know why it's not the same by default. It's just, it's whatever. It's fine. Roughness, just reduce it because it's glass. Transmission, just make it 100%. It does not look like glass. It looks like a mirror. That's because you need to go in here in the render properties. If you are in EV, it will show this, but if we render finally in Cycles, it doesn't matter. Cycles is a ray traced, unbiased rendering engine. It will take everything into account automatically. EV is a real-time engine. Screen space reflections needs to be turned on, and refraction underneath it needs to be turned on. Now, you might be wondering, why is it still not working? Patience. I'm showing you. In the material properties, go down in settings, screen space refraction. Boom. It has been turned into glass. I can see the bottom part underneath that. I can legitimately see it. Oh, by the way, you're wondering why is it still reflecting the background? Because it's HDR, it is actually the background, and the roughness is at 1. If I turn it all the way up, it'll be like frosted glass. If you want to make a frosted glass look, that's all up to you. But there we go, we have made our display case basically, but the edges of the glass do not look different. That's because they do not have a different like index of refraction basically. How do I describe this? It basically means that inside it is absolutely like it's thick all the way through. This little border we created, this glass should be pretty good, but for some reason this internal parts is also like filled with solid glass. I do not know how to get rid of that. It's such an irritating issue. It's very irritating. One thing I could potentially do is like extrude it down maybe. Yes, no, that doesn't work either. Fantastic. What am I left with? Nothing. I guess if I delete this face, yeah, delete face, will it work now? I mean, no, not really, just got rid of that. It looks silly. Whatever, it will be fine. Let's re-add our sword back. Great, and we have our sword entirely back. Now I'm going to select this entire thing. I'm going to select everything in here. You can go and select it like this, by the way. Scale them down, rotate them along the x-axis 90 degrees, move it a little bit up. Oh, by the way, as you can see, the sword is actually reflecting realistically on different angles, which is pretty cool. I love that. If you take a look at it, it's perfectly centered. It looks like genuine glass from up top because there is no reflections. Down here looks pretty centered, I think. Yes, just like position it a bit there. Yes, great. We need a standoff, by the way, for the sword to be rested upon. So we are going to be making that as well. It's not that difficult. It's ridiculously easy actually. Select this bottom plane right here. I'm going to inset it. I'm going to scale the inset on the y-axis, make like a cube, and move it towards the handle. Yeah, move it towards the handle like so. And yeah, that's pretty good. Actually no, we can only create one inset, so create that, scale it on the y-axis like a little bit taller, and extrude it up, shrink that down a little bit to create like a beveled thing. Inset this piece right there now, and scale along the y-axis to make like a cubical thing. Extrude it up as well. Extrude it, but do not move it. Scale it a little bit up. Scale on the x-axis quite finely, and then scale on the y-axis. Great. There we go. Actually, scale on the y-axis just a little. Nice. So we have our resting place for the sword. I'm going to actually extrude it just a slightly little bit up as well, and then inset that Inset that in. Actually, inset it. Left click. Do not move it. Like inset. It's insetted. Okay. Press I and then left click. Do not move your cursor and then scale it along the x-axis, and then extrude down. Great. We got a little piece for our sword. Very nice. We can move these parts a little bit down as well if you want. Oh yes, another thing, this vertex is not really part of this entire edge. If you take a look, like this vertex is kind of independent on its own, which is, I mean, fine. But if you take a look at this right now, that does not seem like a logical thing to do. I mean, it's intersecting. It's obviously on the same edge, but the edges are overlapping on each other. So let's see how we can fix this. We can actually pretty easily fix this. Just like subdivide it, and then select this, M, merge at last, and then subdivide these two. Select this, merge at last. Basically, at last means that the last thing you have selected, it will merge at that. And now we move it down. No worries, absolutely fine. We're gonna do that at the exact same side as well. Delete this face which is overlapping. Subdivide, select that, merge at last. Yes, merge at last. Select that, subdivide. Select that, subdivide. This at last. Great. And we're gonna select these both and we're gonna bring them down. We can actually edge slide them to make them open like this, but we don't want to do that right now. I just want to bring it down like right as close as possible to the edge. And if you're going to say that that's wrong, that's bad topology right there, that's absolutely correct. We are going to do a little bit of a merge by distance action again. Remove the 8 vertices, but these are not as close to the merge by distance as we would have wanted. So we can increase the distance right there. Boom, it has merged them. Fantastic. So we have a standoff for a sword. Again, it's not really unwrapped properly like at all. So I'm going to just do a cube projection once again, and that has fixed every single bug known to humanity ever. There we go. Now place the sword and bring it a little bit down, and place it like sensibly into the standoff. Make sure it's like actually touching so that the viewers don't think that it's weird. Move it a little bit towards the right side and then rotate it along the like, actually notice the, I'm going to teach that later. Rotate along the y-axis like so, and then along the x-axis towards this piece, so it looks like it's resting on that little edge. Okay, so it looks much more realistic. It looks much more nicer. There's our sword inside a display case. The display case looks just like a tiny little bit too tall, so I'm going to bring that down as well. There we go. Fantastic. We have created the final scene. If you want, you can use this as it is. I'm going to be adding a plane underneath this for light bounces, and we're going to go to rendered mode. Let's get some lighting going on. I'm going to add a spot lamp right here above the glass, and I'm going to turn its power like ridiculously high. Oh yeah, I forgot, in EV for some reason it just doesn't work like that. I'm pretty sure if I switch to cycles it will work, because it calculates caustics and whatnot. Yes, it does. It's shining light atop that. It's actually very noisy because it's glass. Hey, look at that, we can actually see it. Thank God in cycles understands that. We have index of refraction difference between this piece of glass and the entire inside of the case. The cycles renders will always look better than EV because it is a ray traced engine. It is supposed to look better. You can do all sorts of hacks with EV, but cycles looks inherently better. Just for like the sake of this video, I will do one render in EV and one render in cycles. The cycles one will actually probably take some time, so you can render that at home yourself. Probably won't do cycles then, actually, now that I think about it. And in the spot lamp, you can set a custom distance. I don't want that. We need the show cone, so we can get an idea of where the cone is falling. Yeah, there we go. We can increase the size a little bit as well and bring it a little bit up. Let's take a look at it from top. Let's bring it a little bit closer so like just it is covering the sword, only the sword. There we go. Actually, now think about it, a spot lamp. Actually, no. Yes, this is correct. Let's let there be a spot lamp there. Great, absolutely fantastic. Let it. Actually, I'm going to align it. I'm gonna align it with the ground. Because the ground is also catching the spot lamp. As you can see, there's a like this shelf is essentially floating on top of the ground. That's not how it's supposed to be. We have added a spot lamp. This is for the highlight of the photo. We're going to add some extra area lamps as well to just increase the drama. Increase the dramatics. I'm going to position one area lamp right here. I'm going to rotate on the y-axis 90 degrees, on the z-axis minus 45 degrees. Great. And I'm going to duplicate it, move it along the y-axis like so, and then move it along the z-axis 90 degrees. Great. Look at these area lamps. Now let's just like make them a little bit wider like so they're like flat lights, and I think this will look pretty good. And let's move this a little bit down as well. That looks great. Maybe even actually duplicate and add another one in the center. It just depends on how you're feeling. If you're feeling adventurous, you can do that. I certainly am, so I'm going to add another one. If we disable overlays, we can actually take a look how the throw pattern of the light is going to appear. It looks pretty sick. There is no background, however, and if this is in a display case in a museum, there ought to be some background. So we're going to duplicate the floor, rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees, position it just a little bit back, like so, and we're going to give it a wood material as well as the floor. We're going to give these both a different type of wood material. I have all these textures are from Polygon. Again, it's a great website. Check it out. Just check it out. For the flooring, we are going to be using the wood flooring 44. This, attach it to the base color. We have the glossiness map. What is the difference between glossiness and reflection? They're just inverted variants of each other, but I do not really know what the inverted variant is. Which one is the straight one? I do not know. Non-color data. Do not put the alpha into roughness, put the roughness in color into the roughness. Normal map, non-color data, and in a normal map, connect this. There we go, we got a floor, but the floor is kind of way out of proportion, I guess, if you really ask me. So we gotta control the scale of the floor. Again, add a mapping node, connect the vectors to every one of them, and just change the scale. Let's make it 5. There we go. For the wall, another material from Polygon. We are going to go and we're going to select a different wood texture. We're going to select wood flooring 61. It's supposed to be flooring. I'm putting it as a background because I do not have anything for the background. It's going to be looking just as fine because it's just wood. And what do museums have? Loads of wood. They love wood. I love wood. Wood is a nice material, and it's also another nice word to say, just like bastard. I forgot the name of the sword that we were making. Yes, it's a bastard sword. It's pretty cool. There we go. We got the wood, but it's a little bit yellow. I don't really mind that. Also, another thing is that the wood is not really well illuminated. What are we going to do is we're going to add a sun lamp. Just to make everything illuminated, I'm going to turn down the strength just like ever so slightly, like 0.25. and rotate the sun lamp towards the backdrop like 45 degrees so that the wall is illuminated. Also, it's looking a little bit yellow, so we are going to do some like color correction with the mix RGB node. Yeah, let's make this multiply. Let's turn this a little bit darker. Yeah, like fully, do not make it like completely dark. Make it bluish. No, that's weird. That's weird. Make it somewhat like this. Yes, and also change the scale. The scale looks odd, and when the scale is off, everything is off. Again, change the scale to 5. Oh, there we go. It looks a bit too red. I'm going to adjust it till I find the sweet spot. Probably gonna use some other color, like algorithm, blending mode. Sorry, overlay looks pretty cool. Yeah, let's use overlay. I think make it a little bit reddish browner, like so. Nice. 0.75. Great, we have our sword inside a display case which is refracting like actual glass correctly, and we have light set up. Now for the camera, select this light cursor to selected, bring in a camera, it'll spawn exactly there, which is great. We can position it back now. Oh, by the way, if you're going to go into the camera, numpad 0 is the shortcut key. Now it's going to layout and position our camera like so. I'm going to scroll up till it fits the entire frame roughly, and I'm going to just kind of position it like I guess like ground level. Yeah, that's about right. Turn off all overlays. That looks pretty cool. But the background does not look as interesting because there is literally nothing there. It's just a piece of wood. We can make it interesting in a few methods. We can make a lamp coming off of it. We can probably put some other random frames up or decoration. You can do that if you want to, but I guess you know what, I'll just go ahead and make a lamp. It's actually not that difficult. I'll use curves for it. Using curves is very simple. It's like a different type of mesh. If you're going to curves, you can see a lot of different curves. These are from add-on. Do not care about these. I'm just going to use the default Blender Bezier curve. Now if you go to edit the curves, we got 2 handles right here. One handle is like controlling this part of the curve, other handle is controlling this. If you shrink the handles, it will reduce their area of effect of rotating the curve. So I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis, on the x-axis minus 45 degrees just to straighten it out, and position it like exactly ending on the wall. Okay, let's make a lamp now. Let's imagine that it goes ridiculously up, extrudes forward like so. Let's rotate it a little bit like this. Let's shrink down that handle. Actually, let's make it bigger so that we got a nice smooth curve. And yeah, just like put it about here. Yes, and now we can just shift on the y-axis towards here. Now this does not look like it does not look like anything basically. We gotta make that. Let me shift this a little bit ahead of the wall like so, and then extrude it down on the z-axis. Select this handle, bring it a little bit further again. Bring this one a little bit further because it's not really working out like that. Okay, there we go. We got it. And now straighten that out. Okay, this is a lamp, but this is not solid yet. How do we make it solid? You might ask. Go into geometry. Under the curves panel, object data properties is turned into curves. When you are selecting a curve, you have extrude bevel. We use bevel. Boom. We have turned it into a solid object. It's a pipe. It's whatever. There we go. So this thickness is fine, I guess. I'm going to rotate it a little bit like a steeper edge so that it comes on like so. A little bit like this. There we go. And that's good. And I'm just going to position my cursor at this, add in oh oops, it's rotated like this as well. Don't rotate it like this, rotate it along certain axis. Yes, we're going to turn this into a mesh first. So we're going to hit F3 for search, and we're going to type convert to mesh from curve meta surf text. Boom. Yeah. So now we can model it into a lamp. Select this loop right there with Alt, extrude it down, scale it up a little bit up, extrude it down again, scale it a little bit up to create a curved pattern, scale a little bit up, and then just extrude it down like so. Move the spotlight a little bit up so it's in a sensible position. Also select the spotlight, add in a sphere, shrink down said sphere, go and select this little vertex right here, turn on proportional editing, increase the area of effect, bring the bulb a little bit down, and you got a bulb inside of a lamp. Now you might ask, why does a museum have a lamp like this? And I say, I don't know. I wanted to make the background interesting because you asked me this. Okay? Well, we have done that. If you wish to add anything else, please do add it, and also put it in the comment section. I'm going to put a Discord server link. Actually, do I have a Discord? Maybe I'll make one later. But for now, if you do make pretty cool looking background elements to fill this up, I don't have enough time for that because I'm on a tight schedule making a video in 10:18 in the night. What are we going to do is send me photos after uploading the things to Google Drive. Send me the links of Google Drive. Yes, exactly. So yes, change the size again, like a little bit. Nice. So to give the lamp a little bit of shading, just there's nothing difficult to it. Select, make a new material, make it metallic, make it a little bit, actually leave it at the same roughness, make it a little bit darker, and select the lamp, select this, delete the principal BSDF, add an emission shader, attach it to the surface, bump up the strength to like 7.5. Or what you can do is add in something which is pretty cool, which is called a black body color generator for lights. I don't know what its actual name is. There we go. It is the Kelvin's unit of measurement for lamps. It doesn't really matter right now since that piece of the environment is not even in frame. But as you can see, the more I increase the temperature of the light, the less warm it gets, and the more I decrease it, the more warm it gets, down to like a red light, which is extremely warm. It's like the ones used in the old rooms for developing film. So okay, we're just going to position our camera a little bit above them, I guess. Or we can take like a wide angle shot if you want, but I'm going to take a close-up. I'm going to just leave it as it is. But yeah, if you ever wish to make something like this, then I mean make a wide shot, you can do that. Also, the thing is that we can shrink this down, like the Z-axis. It a little bit shrunken doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it's the fact that we did not make it shrunken from the start. So if we shrink it right now, it will look weird, and I do not want that. So just let's leave it be, and there you go. That's gonna be a render. If I render an Eevee right now by hitting F12, it's gonna take a second, and there we go. We have our finished render of a sword inside a glass case. It looks pretty bad because right now it's rendered in Eevee and there are no other background elements. But this entire tutorial was only to make the sword, not anything else. Because everything else was just made to make sense of the sword. That why do we have a sword? If you do not want to make the elements that I made, like the glass display case or whatever, you may not. I'm sorry about the Discord things. It's very irritating. Well, thank you everyone for watching my video. If you liked it, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Also, no, wait a second. I forgot to tell you something. Write down in the comments if you want a tutorial about a semi-stylized, semi-photorealistic mountain. Okay? If you want a tutorial like that, please do tell me and I will upload it. Write it down in the comments. It's very important. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if somebody does not write it down in the comments, I'll even upload it like 1 or 2 days later. But please, no. I want some affirmation from my community. Well, I guess I've rambled on enough. See ya. Bye.